UFC Louisville just concluded a couple hours ago, and here I am going to recap the entire card from the first fight of the night all the way to the main event. Yes, the main event, where the man in the middle right here was the one to finish the fight. We will talk about that later. But before we do that, and before we get into the recap of the entire card, let's take a look at the recap of the official picks, the best bets, and the Homo Fight picks bets overall. We went 8-6 on the card. Not great. Not great. A lot of dogs came through. We picked a couple of them, and a couple of them got us. Puja Tomar, that's a nice dog there. Here we go. Asterisks on Eduardo Mora, because if you watch the official picks video, I said, if Eduardo Mora misses weight, then I'm taking her for the pick. She missed by a half a pound. I was expecting her to miss by like 2 to 3 pounds, come in with an advantage, and her cardio wouldn't be shit. Ultimately, I had a bet on Denise Gomes, which you'll see later. So I'm giving a bit of an asterisk, but I still counted it as a loss because if you watch the video, you know, I'm not gonna try to like cheat you out of it. I'm still counting it as a loss, but there's an asterisk by it. Andrea Lee's just absolutely terrible. Charles Radke did not come in with the right game plan. And then Miguel Baeza, trash. Absolute trash. Marquez, I don't even know, man. You get starched in like 20 seconds by Zach. Terrible. And then Dustin Jacoby, that was just, glad to see Reyes win. Don't really care about those picks. But yeah, we hit a couple nice ones. 8-6 on Louisville, 17-9 on the year. And only been doing this 2 weeks. So 17-9, I believe that's about 65%. We get into the best bets recap. A good day. If you've tailed the best bets video bets, Daniel Marcos, money line, cash, under 2.5. Absolutely no sweat there. Round one finish from Reyes. And I told you in the video, even though I'm kind of taking this because Reyes' chin isn't very good, but Reyes is also a finisher. So that under 2.5, absolute money. The no distance parlay, that one was so frustrating because that was a Soriano-Baeza fight, and that fight should have been stopped. And then the other leg of that parlay was Zacharias Marquez, which ended in like 20 seconds. So that's kind of a bad beat. Chalking that up as a bad beat there on the parlay. Hit Raul Rosas Jr. inside the distance, but we didn't get the round 1 sub. He got round 2 sub. So a good day for the best bets. Went up 1.41 units. And then in the 2 weeks we've been doing it, if you tailed them, you're positive 1.48 units. So stay tuned for those videos in the future. They will keep coming. Betting recap for the Homo Fight Picks premium membership. We went up plus 2.09 units. Hit some underdogs. Some money lines, hit a nice parlay there, Lapilus decision, Nasruddin Imavov money line. A lot of props on this card. I said it in the video. Some props came through, some did not. But in the end, we're positive units in a crazy card, and I am always going to chalk that up as a W. If you're in the profit, that's a W. You can't be mad if you're in the profit. Daily fantasy picks, we broke even. We went 1-3 on underdog, and we went 1-3 on better picks. If you go 1-3, you're breaking even. If you go 2 for 3, you're in the profit. You go 3 for 3, obviously a clean sweep is great profit. But this is if you go 3 plays on each app, you just got to hit 1 to break even. We hit 1, we broke even. We move on to next week. That brings us to the recap of the card. Starting with the first fight of the night, the Indian fix was in. Puja Tomar cashed for us as an underdog, so I was happy about that. And going into this fight, I said in the breakdown, if this fight's on the feet, Puja Tomar is going to be the better striker. Now, was she the better striker? I don't know. But at least it was close. It was a close fight. You have to say that. It was a close fight, and we picked the right side as the big plus money on Puja Tomar. Now, if we look at these scorecards, one judge had it 30-27 for Puja. Little bit generous. Rayan Dos Santos got 30-27 from Sal D'Amato. Of course, he's always going against me. And then Derek Cleary scored a 29-28 for Puja Tomar. So, I don't know. I mean, I thought all the rounds were super close. I wouldn't have been mad if they gave it to Rayan Dos Santos because I thought it was a close fight. But the UFC wants these Indian fighters to win. They had Anshul Jubilee. Anshul Jubilee walked so Puja Tomar could run. She's the first Indian fighter to get a win in the UFC. She's not very good. Like, Reyes Amanda dos Santos was probably the worst fighter they could have given her because, like, she ain't going to get that many wins in the UFC. Her striking is okay. She loves that side kick, and Amanda dos Santos needed to get that fight to the ground to separate herself, and she couldn't do it. So, yeah, I don't know. Not a high ceiling for Puja Tomor, but she picks up a win. She makes history as the first Indian fighter to get a win. Props to her. We'll move on. Taylor Lapilus, man. This guy is sneakily one of the rising contenders in the bantamweight division, I think. I mean, this is his second stint in the UFC. What he did to Cody Stamann was pretty damn impressive. Like, I know Cody Stamann's not a world beater, but Cody Stamann's fought a lot of good guys. And Taylor Lapilus pretty clearly 30-27'd him. Like, was in control the entire fight, kept his range, picked his shots, didn't get hit with anything big, rarely got hit at all, stuffed all the takedowns, except for one, but then got up immediately after that. So I think this guy's super fucking good, man. I mean, he's a French kickboxer who's got really solid takedown defense, really fast hands, really, really nice kicks, and mixes up his weapons very well. So I think there's a high ceiling here for Taylor Lapilus. I mean, I know he lost to Farid Basharat, but I think Farid Basharat is an absolute stud. And that's a tough matchup for Lapilus. So, yeah, I mean, Cody Stamann, I think, is top 30, top 25 in the world, or at least in the UFC, for bantamweights. And that's a good win for Taylor Lapilus. I mean, I think he should probably get, another jump up. And then maybe you give him a rank guy if he beats another jump up. So, good win for him. I think he's a real contender. Fraud check of the card. Eduarda Mora here. We already talked about it earlier in the video. I don't think she should be a strawweight. She's massive for strawweight, and she missed weight for the second time. It was only by 0.5 pounds, but you can tell she does not have cardio. And for one, she doesn't have the experience to go 3 rounds. She's never been to a third round, I don't think. I think she's been to one third round. She's been to one decision, but it was against low level of competition. Denise Gomes just fought Angela Hill, top 10 strawweight in the UFC. So she's been tested. Denise Gomes was ready for everything. Eduarda Mora was getting some takedowns early, but she couldn't hold her there. She couldn't threaten with any ground and pound. She couldn't threaten with any submissions. Denise Gomes was just get taken down, get back up to her feet, create a scramble, and then on the feet. Denise really didn't look that good on the feet, but it was enough to beat Eduarda Mora because she doesn't have much at all on the feet. She is a complete grappler, and if that fails, she has nothing. And that failed her, and she had nothing. She had nothing left in the gas tank, and she was, at the end, she was just spamming takedowns, just missing them, not looking good at all. Pretty clear win for Denise Gomes, in my opinion. Good bounce-back win for her, man. I mean, she's usually a pretty exciting fighter. And Eduarda Mora loses the O, gets fraud checked, and Denise Gomes cashes as an underdog once again. Still undefeated. Daniel Marcos, man. This guy's good. This guy's really good. And as you saw earlier in the video, I was confident in him to come in here and get a win against John Castaneda. Because John Castaneda struggles with guys that pressure him and throw a lot of volume. That's exactly what Daniel Marcos does. Got in his face early. He just stalks you down. He's just stalking him down, not being super active, but always being ready to throw something. And when he did throw, he capitalized on everything. Straight right down the middle, was hurting Castaneda all night. Mixed up the kicks. He'd go to the body. That teep kick to the body was really pissing him off. He was claiming nut shots, but they weren't nut shots. They were just little teeps to the body that are like stabbing kicks right to the body, right above the belt line, that were just not feeling good for Castaneda. He was trying to get a break, and Marcos just kept it on him. Nearly got finished with, 20 seconds left in the round 3. He caught a head kick from Castaneda right on the head that kind of stumbled him for a second, but he had his wits about him to, circle around the cage. He was up 3-0, stayed out of danger, and ends up getting a win. I think it was 30-27 on all the judges' scorecards. If not, it should have been. because he won all 3 rounds. Nearly got him out of there a couple times. I thought he was maybe going to find a finish in round 3. I think he knocked him down with a right hand or something like that. But, yeah, great performance from Daniel Marcos. And I hope he gets another jump up in competition because Castaneda's good. And he made quick work of him. 30-27, pretty clear. Was never really in any big danger other than the last 20 seconds. So, great takedown defense, too. Showed a lot in that department. He looked good. He looked really good. Good stuff from Daniel Marcos. Montana De La Rosa, Andrea Lee, man. So, in my breakdown, I had Andrea Lee. I said I'll take Andrea Lee, but this is just a fight. I didn't have a single bet on this fight, for one, because it's just so bad. Andrea Lee beat Montana De La Rosa already, and then here we are, 4 years later, and they're fighting again. Andrea Lee wins the first round, and I'm sitting there with Matty. He says, Andrea Lee's minus 350. And I go, oh my God. She's live betting. She's minus 350 after round 1. I'm like, oh my God, that is just disgusting. Because you cannot trust Andrea Lee to close out a fight. Because she knows how to lose a fight. And I'm like, Montana De La Rosa could definitely come back and win this fight. Win the next 2 rounds. She wins the second round, I believe. I thought she outstruck her in round 2. So it's 1-1 going into the third. And really, Andrea Lee just needs to kind of put the pressure on. Just put the pressure on. And don't get taken down. What does she do? She gets taken down. She gives up her back. She gets her back taken. And she just knows how to lose a fight, man. Like, Montana De La Rosa is not good. But Andrea Lee is just old right now. She just has no real pop at all on any of her punches. She's doing the yeah every time she throws a punch. Yeah. The Caitlin Chikagian thing, like, once you start doing that, it just never looks good because you're trying to, like, give the judges something a little more than what you're actually throwing out of there. Yeah. Doesn't work, man. Andrea Lee knows how to lose a fight. Leave it at that. She loses. I thought it was 29-28. Montana, pretty clear. Brad Katona. Brad Katona couldn't finish a sandwich if you put it in front of him. He would take a couple bites. He would leave it there. Maybe throw it in the fridge for later. Brad. You get the absolute worst guy on the roster. The worst guy on the roster. You actually have a lot of success in this fight, right? You get him to the ground early. You split him open. I think it was round 2. Split him open in round 2. It's on the feet for round 3. You're up 2 rounds to nothing. It's a kickboxing match at that point. You're throwing, but anything you throw ain't going to hurt a fly. Okay, those little T-Rex arms, it's not going to hurt anything. I think they're just like slapping hooks. Like, they don't really land, I don't think. Like, he throws a nice left hook. Like, he's a good fighter. Very skilled fighter. Just can't finish a sandwich, bro. He couldn't finish a 15-year-old. I don't want to say that. He couldn't finish a 115-pound woman if she was in there. I don't even think she was there. Bad look. I mean, he still gets to win in dominant fashion, but, like, come on, man. If you're in the UFC, this is your second stint in the UFC. You need to bring some type of excitement to your fights. It's just not it. I need a finish out of you, Brad. I need a finish. Carlos Prates, Charles Radke. So we went from Brad Katona, who couldn't finish a sandwich, to Carlos Prates, who finishes everything in his sight. If it's there, he's going to finish it. And he put away Charles Radke in exciting fashion. God dang, that knee to the liver. Thought that was beautiful. Beautiful move by Carlos Prates, man. This guy, dangerous on the feet. I put it on the screen there. Pereira Silva hybrid. So after his Contender Series fight, I think Dana White said he was like the next Anderson Silva. And, like, I can kind of see it. You know, southpaw striker, long, great kicks, good hands, and just looks like he's in control of everything. But tonight, it looked like he was like stalking him down like Alex Pereira, really getting in his face, which is something we didn't really see in his first fight in the UFC against Giles. He was kind of more off the back foot. But after about 3 minutes into the first round here, he was in Charles Radke's face, just walking him down Pereira style, like not letting this guy breathe at all. And then eventually, Charles Radke's fighting off the back foot. He's not in the driver's seat. And Prates is getting his reads, and he's kind of reaching out there. Literally reached out, grabbed his hand, and then was like, oh, your liver is very exposed right now. I'm going to step in and knee you right to the liver. And Charles Radke went down like he got hit with a shotgun. Like, he went down. Rarely do you see somebody get hit in the liver, and they go down right away. They go down right away, and there's no follow-up. That is a nasty finish by Carlos Prates, and I think this guy's ceiling is super high. I think this card in general had a ton of fighters that it was kind of like a prove-it type of fight, and they proved it, and they're like, holy shit, like these guys are really good. Like Prates, Marcos, forgetting who else, but you know what I'm saying. Good fighters on this card, and they really showed out. Like one here, Ludovic Klein. That's who else I was thinking about. Ludovic Klein will be a problem at 155 because he made a clear 30-27 against Thiago Moises. Now, would you like to see a finish from him? Yes, I would have loved to see a finish from him because I had the fight to not go the distance. And, of course, you like to see finishes from these up-and-coming contenders, right? But I thought the way he handled the fight was just super impressive. He's going to be a problem, bro. Like, if you saw in the first round, Thiago Moises got in on a double leg. Like, so deep, I thought there was for sure Klein was going to end up on his butt. I don't know how, but Ludovic Klein must have the strongest hips in the game. Like, we know this guy looks like he's on the sauce, but he must be taking injectables to those hips because, good Lord, Moises was in deep, and he still managed to sprawl his ass out of there. I don't think he got taken down once by Thiago Moises. And Thiago, he's not like an insane wrestler, but he knows how to get entries, and usually when he gets his entries, he can get you to the ground. And Klein was not having any of it. And Moises was kind of a sitting duck at that point because at the end of round one, he gets clipped with that left hand right down the middle, falls down to the ground, nearly gets finished. And then round two, it was pretty clear round for Klein again, just on the feet. He's just picking him apart with the body kicks, the head kicks, the leg kicks, even the hands. And then in round three, it's just the same thing. I mean, I think he even took him down either in round two or round three. Klein took Moises down, and it looked super freaking easy. And then round three nearly finishes him at the end. What did he hit him with? Like a knee up the middle or something like that? Dropped him. Nearly finished him and then just kind of laid in half guard to run out the clock. But Klein's dangerous, man. I mean, he's one of those guys he's super technical, and he's really tough to deal with because you can't take him down. You can't rush in on him. And you can't really sit at range because even though he's 5'7", he's still very solid at range because he's so fast and he has a great kicking game. So he's tough. He's tough to deal with, and he's just a freaking unit. Like 5'7", he's absolutely yoked up as he should be at 155. If you're gonna be shorter at 155, you better be strong as hell. Klein looked dangerous, man. I would like to see Klein versus like Drew Dober. That'd be crazy. Southpaw on southpaw. I mean, maybe Klein goes to his wrestling game there against Dober, but that would be sick. Klein versus Dober, I just thought about that. Just thinking because they're both shorter out for 155, and they're both just brick houses, and they both hit pretty hard. I think that'd be fun. We'll see, though. All right, so for the image here, the glare is not on your screen. It's from the picture because it's the post that I made on my Twitter, or my ex. Miguel Baeza, Punahele Soriano, man. Bro, I don't know what the fuck I just watched in that fight. Let's start with Miguel Baeza. So you're off for 2 years. You come into this fight as a favorite. Punahele Soriano, 1-4 in his last 5. Gets taken down by Soriano, and he thinks he's in like a jiu-jitsu match. Rolling for leg locks, rolling for knee bars, like committing to them hard. Like he had the knee bar aspect in there, and Punahele is just punching him in the face. And Baeza's like getting punched, and he's like, nah, gotta get this knee bar. Gotta get this knee bar. Then he misses on the knee bar, and then he goes for like a leg lock. I don't even know what he was doing. He's going for arm bars off his back. Like, this was the position right here on the screen. This is the position they were in for most of the fight. Baeza's literally sitting on his shoulders at this point. And he's playing this guard game. Not really doing much with it other than the first round when he was looking for subs. And Soriano's just beating him down. Like, at some point, brother, you might have to try to get up. At some point, you might have to try to get back up to your feet. It didn't really look like he wanted to. It looked like he was just content to lay on his back, play the guard game, and maybe get a submission or just lose a decision. And I thought the fight could have been stopped multiple times. That's why it's up here. Stop the fight? Like, come on. Puna landed, did he set a record for most significant ground strikes landed in a fight or something like that? He was beating the shit out of him on the ground. And Baeza wasn't doing much. He really wasn't moving. He wasn't doing much other than adjusting his guard. And I felt like that fight could have been stopped because Baeza did not look like he even wanted to be there. Wild. Just, this is the stuff we get on fight nights. Just like weird shit like this. Just so many question marks. The first KO with the hands, because we had Prates get it with the knee, right? First KO in the UFC with the new gloves was Zachary Reese knocks out Julian Marquez in the first round in like under 20 seconds. Julian Marquez, what is going on, brother? You're cut, probably. Julian Marquez probably cut, should be cut. 3-fight losing streak. They kind of gave him a favorable matchup here. Zach Reese really isn't good. I still don't believe he's that good, even though he just knocked out Marquez in the first. What are you doing, bro? Like, Marquez looked terrible for the 20 seconds that he was in there. No pressure off the bat. Zero pressure. Takes a body kick. Doesn't like it. Backs up. And then just takes an uppercut to the chin, and he's out. He should be cut. I really still don't think Zachary Reese is that good. He's round one or bust. And if you pressure the guy, he doesn't like it. Marquez just stood there at kickboxing range against a guy that's 6'4", took a body kick and then an uppercut and then dipped out. So, yeah, I mean, Zach Reese, I guess you hold the, I don't want to say the record, but like the history for the first KO with your hands in the new UFC gloves. So props to you, man. And maybe he got a performance bonus. If he didn't, he probably should. I don't know. I didn't look. The Meatball special. Bruno Ferreira, man. Bruno Ferreira. The fade on Bruno Ferreira is going to come. But today was not the day. Now, Bruno's got some real power. But I think he got away with one here. He got away with the Meatball special. And if you remember the Meatball special, I say that because of Molly McCann. Meatball Molly. Meatball Molly got those back-to-back spinning back elbow wins. And then went on a losing streak. And I could see a world where Bruno Ferreira does that. Because he didn't really look all that good in the first round. Dustin Stoltzfus took him down. Took his back. Now, Bruno got back up. But after he got back up, he was starting to get pretty tired. Everything he threw after that was really wild hooks. They kind of got into a brawl, but Bruno was getting tagged with some stuff from Dustin Stoltzfus. And ultimately, in a brawl, Bruno's just got more power to, when he lands, he's going to hurt you more than you're going to hurt him. So, I thought he was getting really tired, and eventually he hits this spinning back elbow. I think this was the second time he hit it, and this is the one that put him down. So Bruno Veda gets the first round knockout. I think the future for Bruno is going to be somewhat limited, I think. If he faces higher level competition than a Dustin Stoltzfus, I think he could get exposed. I think he should move down to welterweight, man. You look at him like, yes, he's hulky. He's got a lot of muscle, but he's also got some stuff he could trim down. Like, I think he could be a welterweight. He's 5'10" at middleweight and relies on a lot of just raw power. I think his ground game is solid, but he relies on a lot of raw power. And that's not really going to take him far. I think he's got to move down to welterweight, and maybe that'll improve his cardio because he finishes guys in round one. And eventually, you're not going to be able to finish guys in round one. You're going to have to fight 2-3 more rounds. I don't think that works out well for Bruno. But that didn't happen here. He got him out in round one, and he gets the Meatball special. Spinning back elbow KO of the night. It was a thing of beauty. Props to him. I fucking told you, bro. Raul Rosas Jr., round 2 submission. I said round 1, but I put out the post, right, on my Instagram saying Raul Rosas Jr. should smoke this guy, Ricky Turcios, because I don't think Ricky Turcios is good. I got tons of comments saying Ricky Turcios is tough, man. You're counting out Ricky Turcios. Ricky Turcios won the Ultimate Fighter, man. I don't know. I think Ricky Turcios by decision. Ricky Turcios for the upset. Come on now. Meat. 50 cheese. Actually, it's not 50 cheese. It's 100 cheese. 100 cheese, Dana. Raul Rosas Jr. Meep. El Chino gets it done. And really, I don't think Ricky Turcios is good. He really does nothing good. If you watch his fights, he does nothing well. He's just kind of in there. He's in there, and yes, he's tough. But if you get a guy that has legit skills and is aggressive, like a Raul Rosas Jr., you can get him out of there. Raul got him down to the ground early. Ricky has no takedown defense. All he does when you take him down is slap you in the face or throw some elbows down at your head that really don't do much. And yeah, he does have some decent scrambles, but eventually those scrambles don't work because you get tired and the guy that's in the position, not scrambling, is eventually going to win those positions because you're constantly defending. And eventually, Raul Rosas got him down to the ground, got his back, and submitted him. So I told you so. Meep. Taking out Ricky Turcios. Turcios is bad. They should cut him. He'll never have a UFC or future in the UFC. But yeah, I mean, he came out with like, they start the fight and Ricky Turcios stands there and says F you, and then tries to like pull out some kick to the head or something like that. This guy knew he was going to have to pull off some tomfoolery to get a win, and he still couldn't do it. So he went out there, said, fuck you, threw a head kick, and then got taken down about 10 seconds later, and in round 2, he got choked out. So Turcios is bad. UFC should cut him or just keep him in there and feed him to the up-and-coming prospects like Raul Rosas Jr. Good win for him. Dominick Reyes is resurrected. The resurrection we all needed. We had the resurrection of Petr Yan earlier this year, who was on the losing streak. Not the KO losing streak, but a losing streak. We get Dominick Reyes, who hasn't won a fight in 5 years, who should have won against Jon Jones, who Dana White said was winning 3-1 going into the 5th round against Jon Jones. Dominick Reyes should have been the UFC champion. And because the judges robbed him, he went on a losing streak. Knocked out by Yan. Knocked out by Yuri in devastating fashion. knocked out by a jab against Ryan Spann. And here he is after a two-year layoff, fighting Dustin Jacoby. And everyone's writing him off. And I kind of did too. But at the same time, I'm thinking, Dustin Jacoby's been chinned a lot. He hasn't been knocked out, but he's been chinned. Dominick Reyes, even though he might not have a chin left, he's still got power in his hands. And if he lands, Dominick Reyes could get a win. And here we are. Dominick Reyes getting a win in 2024. Who would have thought? Dominick Reyes getting a first-round knockout in 2024. Praise to the Lord. Good stuff. Glad to see it. You love to see it. You love to see a comeback story, man. You love to see a guy like Dominick Reyes, who's had so many tribulations. He had the diagnosis for thrombosis, I think it was, where he was day to day. Didn't know if he was gonna wake up the next day. That's how bad it was. Blood clot. Comes back in the UFC, gets a first-round knockout. Good stuff for Dominick Reyes. Very interesting to see where he goes from here because, I mean, he just beat Dustin Jacoby. Okay, I thought Jacoby was ranked. He's not. But, you know, he's got the history. So maybe they give him, you know, a top 10 guy, maybe. Or at least a top 15 guy, I would hope. I think Anthony Smith would be a fun matchup. Dominick Reyes, Anthony Smith, two older guys. You know, Anthony Smith probably can't chin check Dominick Reyes. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good matchup. We'll see. Main event. Jason Herzog absolutely ruined this shit, man. That's coming from a guy that bet on Nasruddin Imavov. Okay? This is bad. This is a bad, bad world we live in MMA and in the UFC, where we get terrible judges' decisions, and then at times we get bad stoppages by the ref, or even just bad calls by the refs where a guy's getting eye poked multiple times, grabbing the cage, getting kicked in the nuts multiple times, and nothing is done about it. Just very inconsistent. You know, like, I already talked about the fight before. Baeza and Soriano, that fight could have been easily stopped. But then we go to this fight, and Jason Herzog is stepping in when Jared Cannonier is clearly still there. Like, yeah, he got rocked. Not terribly rocked, but, like, he got touched up. He's on the back foot. Imavov's still coming forward, but he's not absolutely just destroying him. I don't think he ever even got knocked down. Did Jared Cannonier even hit the canvas? I don't think he did. I thought the Kyle Nelson, Bill Algeo stoppage was bad, but this was way worse. Like, this makes the Bill Algeo, Kyle Nelson stoppage look good. This was bad. And for it to be a main event, like, this is your main event. People paid money, upwards of $500 to $1,000 or even more, to get their foot in the door at UFC Louisville to see this main event, and then it gets stopped like that. Like, this was a good fight. This was the fourth round. It was 2-1 either way. And then in round 4, just because a guy lands a flurry of punches, Jason Herzog stepping in. And the worst part is Jared Cannonier is 40 years old. He's 40 years old. I think he's ranked number 4 right now. He's on a 2-fight win streak. Beat Sean Strickland, beat Marvin Vettori, and very easily could have gone on to win this fight. He's 40 years old. He loses this fight now. I said it in the official picks video. If he loses this fight, all chances at getting another title shot are out the door. So Jason Herzog essentially just destroyed the career for Jared Cannonier. Because you can't come back from a loss like this now. You're 40. You're on a 2-fight win streak, building momentum to get back to the title. And then you lose on an early stoppage, and there it goes. Not only that, you lose your purse, lose half your purse, another loss on your record, you're 40. That's it. That's it. Like, that's the end of the story for Jared Cannonier's title hopes, is an early stoppage. A fight that he was up arguably 2-1. I think he was up 2-1 on 2 of the judges' scorecards. So he's winning the fight. And then in round 4, he gets touched up a little bit, and Jason Herzog steps in. Early stoppage, that's the end of your title aspirations. That's how your title aspirations end. Right there. At 40 years old, when Jason Herzog stops the fight early. And that's it. And this is coming from a guy that bet on Nasruddin Imavov. Like, I won money on this fight, and I'm still upset with the stoppage. I think it's terrible. And, like, where do you go with Nasruddin Imavov now? Like, yeah, he looked pretty good in this fight, but can you give him, like, a top 5? Or even, like, can you give him, like, a number 1 contenders fight? Like, I don't know. Probably not. You know, it was a fight that he was up 2-1 on one of the judges' scorecards in. And, yeah, I guess he got the finish technically, but I don't know, man. Bad stuff. Technically, though, the fight, from just judging the fight, I thought Jared Cannonier won round 1. I thought Imavov won round 2. And then arguably could have won round 3. I thought it was a very close round, though. Could have went either way. But Imavov looked a little bit better as far as his gas tank goes. Still has some trouble finding his big shots early on when these guys are fresh. But, you know, I don't know. It was a close fight. It's a close fight, and it's just a terrible way for this fight to end. It's just the worst. Like, can we get anything done? Like, nothing's going to be done about this. You know, like, okay, we'll move on to next week, and then we'll probably have a couple bad judges' scorecards and, you know, a fight where the ref warns the guy for 10 eye pokes, gets poked in the eye 3 times, and then there's no point taken or anything. Or maybe we get another early stoppage. Weird thing in this fight, too, was Herzog was on Imavov's ass about the fingers and poking the eye and keeping the fingers out like this. He says, close fists or up like this. And then eventually he just stops the fight for him. I don't, very weird, man. Very weird. I don't understand it. But yeah, that's the recap for UFC Louisville. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, like and subscribe and leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. But until next time, Hey Job Picks. We out.